Hello friends and welcome to Parks Crafty Creations. I'm your host Brian Parks. If you're new to the channel, I'm so glad you've found your way here. And if you've been sewing along with me for a while, welcome back. If you've ever felt like you spend more time fixing mistakes, searching for tools, or fighting your materials than you do actually sewing, this video is for you. Today, I'm sharing 5 sewing room must-haves that actually save time. And I really want to focus on that word actually, because there are so many sewing tools out there that promise to make sewing easier, but end up just taking up space. Before we jump in, if you enjoy this content, be sure to give us a like down below, as it really does help out the channel. Do it now please, and if you're new to our channel, don't forget to subscribe and ring that notification bell icon so you'll always be notified whenever a new video drops. And hey, if you love what we do here, don't forget to share us with your friends. Now that the housekeeping is out of the way, let's jump in. A quick disclaimer before we get started. At the time of this recording, I'm not being sponsored by or being paid by any of the brands shown in this video. These are all tools that I use on a regular basis and have found to be super useful. So, I wanted to share them with all of you. Alright, back to what you came here for. My first sewing room must-have that actually saves time is a sharp rotary cutter blade. Okay, before you say it, yes, we all know that it's important to keep our rotary cutter blades sharp and to change them regularly when they start to wear out. But that's also part of what makes these, in particular, something a little extra special. These are the Fiskars 45mm titanium replacement blades. When a regular blade starts to dull, you often don't notice it right away. You just find yourself pushing harder, going over the same cut more than once, or dealing with slightly uneven edges that have to be corrected later. A titanium blade cuts cleanly with less pressure, which means your pieces are accurate the first time, and you're not losing time fixing mistakes down the line. The other big benefit of these blades is because these blades are titanium coated, they hold their edge much longer. Like, much longer. Even when cutting through multiple layers or thicker fabrics. That means fewer blade changes, fewer interruptions in the middle of a project, and a smoother, faster cutting process overall, which is exactly why they earn a spot as a true time-saving sewing room essential. The second sewing room must-have that actually saves time is that purple Thang. And despite the silly name, this tool earns its place on my sewing table. This is one of those tools that replaces a lot of small, repetitive actions that can slow you down. I use it to guide fabric under the presser foot, hold fabric steady near the needle, turn corners cleanly, and press seams open without constantly stopping to reposition my hands. It's especially helpful when working on small or detailed areas where your fingers feel too bulky or unsafe near the needle. The other side of the purple Thang, okay, that name's just kind of fun to say, has a square end that's 1/4 of an inch for quick, on-the-fly measurements. You'll also notice a 1/2 inch hole near the end to use for feeding elastic or ribbon through as a bodkin. Another thing I love about this tool is that it's plastic, so it's much less likely to damage your sewing machine, other tools, or even your fabric. Once you get used to having it nearby, you'll notice how often you reach for it without even thinking. This tool saves time in tiny moments throughout a project, and those moments really add up over the course of a sewing session. That's why the purple Thang has earned its place in my sewing room as one of my biggest time savers. The next sewing room must-have that actually saves time is a bulky seam jumper, which is one of those tools you don't realize you need until you experience the problem that it solves. Sewing over thick seams can slow everything down, especially if your machine struggles, your stitches become uneven, or the fabric doesn't feed smoothly. When that happens, you often have to stop, adjust your presser foot, or even rip out stitches and try again. A bulky seam jumper helps keep your presser foot level as you sew over those thick areas, which allows your machine to stitch evenly without hesitation. This means you can sew straight through bulky seams instead of creeping along and hoping for the best. I find this especially helpful when quilting, hemming jeans, sewing bag straps, or working with layered fabrics. Instead of fighting your machine, the seam jumper helps your machine do what it's supposed to do. Any tool that helps you avoid stopping, adjusting, and seam ripping is a huge time saver, and this one earns its keep very quickly. Another sewing room must-have that actually saves time is a good project bag. Organization might not seem exciting, but it has a massive impact on how efficiently you sew. When a project is spread across your sewing room, it's easy to lose pattern pieces, forget where you left off, or spend extra time gathering supplies every time you sit down. A project bag solves that problem by keeping everything together in one place. I use project bags to store fabric, pattern pieces, instructions, and even matching thread for each project. When I'm ready to sew, I can grab one bag and get started immediately, instead of spending time searching for everything. Project bags are also incredibly helpful if you like to work on multiple projects at once, or if you need to pause a project and come back to it later. Everything stays organized, protected, and ready to go. This is one of those tools that saves time before you even start sewing, which makes it easier to actually sit down and finish projects. The final sewing room must-have that actually saves time is an upright tool caddy that sits right next to your sewing machine. During any sewing session, you reach for the same tools over and over again. If those tools are scattered in drawers or piles, you end up stopping frequently to search for what you need. An upright tool caddy keeps your most used tools visible and within arm's reach. Scissors, marking tools, seam rippers, and small sewing accessories all have a dedicated place, which helps keep your workspace clear and your workflow moving. This setup is especially helpful in smaller sewing spaces where keeping the table uncluttered makes a big difference. When your tools are easy to grab and easy to put away, sewing feels smoother and more enjoyable. So, those are 5 sewing room must-haves that actually save time. None of these tools are complicated or flashy, but each one solves a real problem that can slow sewing down. Together, they help reduce mistakes, minimize interruptions, and make sewing feel more relaxed and productive. I'll have all of these linked down below in the description if you want to check them out. Now, I'd love to hear from you. What sewing tool saves you the most time in your sewing room? Let me know in the comments, because I always enjoy learning from other sewists. If you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up. It really does help out the channel. And if you're new to the channel, don't forget to subscribe and ring that notification bell icon so you'll never miss out whenever a new video drops. Thank you so much for spending some time with me today. I've been Brian Parks for Parks Crafty Creations. Happy sewing, and we'll see you next time.